doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crumb. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I first time I forgot Disney. I realized it when we were talking about our stuff, and I was like, "This is the first time I haven't had something Disney on for the show in forever." So now, if we lose, I'm gonna get blamed.
Hey, anytime we can blame you for something, Mike, we will.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
Blame you, except for the Cowboys, right?
Yeah, I know. I got Lakers now, so either way, I'm gonna be getting hit by somebody, one way or the other.
Well, Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
I am Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. So, Mike, I sent you the show sheet. You asked if I have to, and I can't help but feel like you're implying that you might not want to talk about this game tonight. Are you worried about this matchup versus the Rams?
It's not that as much as like it's the day off, and it was such a we just talked about this pre-roll, guys, and it's like as you get older, your day offs become like you don't even have a day off. You don't get a damn day off. And so it was such a busy day that I was joking with you. And he offered me the day off, guys, and I didn't say yes because I wanted to talk some Rams. Let's go. We had the bye week. Let's get into it. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I know this week won't be a cakewalk by any means. Well, here we are with episode 5 of our series Offsides, a series where Mike and I bring on fans, reporters, journalists, and content creators of the opposing teams the Cowboys are playing to discuss the matchup, what it's like being a fan, working for the team, and everything in between. Joining us tonight is a Deontay Johnson truther, host of the Fantasy Frontline podcast, contributor for FF League Winners, and staff writer for DFF Dynasty. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tim Riley to the show. Tim, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Paul. I appreciate you guys for having me on. Really, I don't know if I'm looking forward to this matchup as much as you guys are, but I'm happy to be here and talk about it.
All right, Tim, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. Before we get into our discussion, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
You can find me at FF_Reez, REEZ.
First when I first saw it, I'm like, I wonder if that's Reez or Riz.
I got a little bit of Riz, if that's what the kids are calling it now. No, I'm married.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's go ahead and get after it, Tim. I'm curious, how long have you been a Rams fan?
Ooh, since the 99 Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Fun story.
I like that,
Fun
man.
story. My stepdad, he was a Titans fan, and he had kind of just came into my life. And, I was very, who the hell is this guy coming in here? And so he put on the game, and I was going the opposite of his team because that's just who I am as a person. And I've just been with him ever since.
Gotcha. No pettiness at all, right?
What was that?
I said no pettiness at all in there, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I stuck with him, so it doesn't count.
Facts.
That's one of the best origin fan stories I've ever heard. That's amazing. So F this guy. I'm just gonna root against him, and then that turns into your team.
And then for the rest of my life, I can hold that over.
So who's your all-time favorite player? Is it a Ram, or do you have a different player from another team, maybe?
Man, all-time has got to be Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk or Torrey Holt, which is like not a lot of people know who Torrey Holt is nowadays, I guess. But just watching them together, that Greatest Show on Turf team, and just kind of brought me into the NFL. And, I'm still waiting for a repeat.
I have a question. When you think of Torrey Holt, Paul, what's the first thing you think of?
Honestly, I have no idea. I just think Rams, Greatest Show on Turf.
His fingers, dude.
I think of the bald.
Yeah, for real. It's a lot, but if you ever seen his fingers, they're like it's not fun to look at. Oh, they're everywhere. They're like this way and
oh yeah.
Oh,
look up for real when this is over. Don't do it now because we're on. You guys.
Okay.
Everybody listening though, look up Torrey Holt's fingers after this, and you will have nightmares for like a week.
Yeah, I'll have to do that, man.
I'm definitely doing
So, Tim, I'm curious. Yeah, you mentioned Marshall Falk, excellent player. I can't imagine, what he would do in fantasy these days. But who is your current favorite player?
Currently, probably Justin Jefferson.
Mm.
I just, I like how he came into the league, immediately started dominating. He's just a likable person in general. He's fun to watch on a high powered offense. So right at this moment is Justin Jefferson.
That's awesome. I was thinking maybe the answer to the next question might be your current favorite player, but I'm interested if you go that way, the way I'm thinking. What was your favorite off-season move by the Rams this year?
Ooh, this year, I didn't really like the offseason. Not gonna lie to you. It was kind of tough for me because I really want the Rams to pick a direction, and it seemed like they were just a team with one foot in the door and one foot out the door. I didn't quite understand the Jalen Ramsey trade. I feel like if you're gonna, trade your players and start trading your players, don't just trade a few of them, But right now, I mean, I think the Jalen Ramsey trade, getting rid of him and trying to clear up that locker room and build a better culture. Drafting Stetson Bennett, believe it or not, I wasn't a fan of him as a player, but he's a winner. He's a great locker room guy. And he just kind of brings a lot of intangible things to the team that you don't really see on the field. Because, I don't want him as a quarterback. I do not want to see him on the field at all. But I think he can do some great things for the team.
What about Puka?
I felt like that was too obvious.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think that was just luck. I love it, and I love the draft pick and what he's done so far. But it's hard to expect that from what was Puka, fifth or sixth rounder, somewhere around there. Yeah. It's hard to have expectations, but it's turned out well. And it's hard to say I really loved the move at the time, considering all the other needs we had.
Sorry about that, Tim. I didn't mean to cut you
right.
I talk a lot. You'll get used to it. It's basically all I do here. Do you think it's more Puka or do you think it's more McVay? Do you think if Puka went to the Chargers or whatever, he would be the same type of player?
Oh man, I think it's just a combination of both. I think now that he's shown what he's capable of, if he were to go to another team, then he would still have success. But starting out, if he would have went to somewhere like that, then I don't think he would have success. He's, a low round draft pick. Not every team has the same philosophy on, next man up. We're going to play the best players we have. And so I think it would have been a lot harder for him to see the field.
Yeah, you look at the Rams, it's been an interesting season for them. What do you think has made the Rams so inconsistent this season?
For me, it's the O-line. The O-line's been our biggest issue since we won the Super Bowl. After that, it's just been the O-line is terrible. Matt Stafford kind of has a thing where if you get pressure to him and he gets rattled, he's turning the ball over, which is what scares me about this matchup is you guys are excellent at turning the ball over, especially at home. I think at home it's a plus 2.5 turnover margin. And so if you guys can get pressure on the quarterback, Matt Stafford is going to make a mistake at some point.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That would be a big worry if I was a Rams fan as well. Where would you rank the Rams in the NFC West right now?
I put us a second. I try not to let too much homerism get to me, but I put us a second. We beat Seattle already. We beat Arizona. We played San Francisco tough, and it's hard. As long as we stay healthy, I'm positive we can beat Seattle again and get that second spot.
I think that's fair. I don't think that's homerism at all, especially when you're one up on them. Why shouldn't you be ranked higher? You beat them.
Exactly.
Fair. When you look at the Rams, the teams that they've beaten this year and the teams they've lost to, Are they just a product of beating bad teams, or are they just having maybe some bad luck against the better teams?
I think we've been having a little bit of bad luck against the better. Like, we're somewhere in the middle. We're not a bad team, but we're not top 5 in the NFC either. We got to be level-headed about this. And we played Philly tough. That Philly game was a 1-score game until the final 4 minutes. That was a close one. We were one call away, a very, 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 very bad call in that Pittsburgh game. And we probably drive on them. I mean, I don't know if it would happen, but I'm assuming it would happen because that's what I would like to see. But, we drive on them, we score, we tie it up. And, we don't know how that game ends. So I don't think it's somewhere in the middle. The answer is somewhere in the middle.
That call against the Steelers was and the Steelers are notorious for they literally have something in place where that's what it's there for, is to look and go, oh no, you know what? You spotted it bad. Let's fix that. You don't need a replay for it. We're up in the booth. We got this. This is why we're doing it. And they were like, and that blew. That's a Pittsburgh and Kansas City gets that all. I don't know why those two teams, but they get stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, it was rough to watch. I was hot for the rest of the day.
Now that I know the origin fan story, this question is even more interesting. So, winning the Super Bowl and being able to stick it in the new stepdad's face, or birth of the child, which was a better feeling?
Oh man, the Super Bowl is going to be a close second. There's nothing that beats the birth of your children and seeing them and meeting them for the first time, and that's a real. It's an experience. I don't even know how to say it.
How many kids you got, Tim?
Just had my second one about a month and a half ago.
Congratulations. How did you get time to do a podcast? Oh, you're in trouble. I already know you're doing the cooking and the kids for the next week for doing this right here.
Man, I really do try to help as much as I can in my free time. So I think that earns me a little bit of brownie points, and she's really understanding. She supports that I like to do this. It's really a hobby. So, she's awesome. I love her.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
I hear that, Tim. I hear that. You mentioned earlier about the Rams being one. You mentioned the Jalen Ramsey trade, and then there were reports that the Rams tried to trade away Matthew Stafford in the offseason. Did you think maybe that the Rams were heading into a rebuild mode this season?
I thought they were. That was my thing. I would really like them to go all in. Let's get rid of some of these contracts, take the L on the year. We finally have our draft picks back. It wasn't even sure if Sean McVay was coming back or Aaron Donald or anybody. And it was really just I was nervous the entire offseason.
If you lose Sunday and you're down and you think it's like, all right, it's just too many teams in the NFC. We're not really up there. Would you like them before the trade deadline to trade maybe a Cup or an AD or a Matt Stafford, or are those three guys like, no, they got to stay?
I think if we decide to go to a rebuild, those guys, I would like to see Aaron Donald stay. I think anybody else is expendable. Unfortunately, I love Cooper Kupp, but realistically throughout his career, he's had one great season and then he's been good every other year. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been amazing. He's just been good. He's been kind of injury riddled. So I don't hold as much loyalty towards him, regardless of how great he was that one year. But for me, Aaron Donald is the only one untouchable. He needs to retire a Ram. Go ahead and retire his jersey number and get him in the Hall of Fame. And let's call it end on an amazing career.
Would it be different if Puka and Nacua did not exist? Would you then still want to trade Kupp?
I think I would. If the rebuild was the direction the team wanted to go, I think you got to, like, all these guys are ending their prime, Stafford and Cup, and you have to do what's best for the team and the player, while they're still in their prime, let them get a shot at another Super Bowl. That's what these people came back for. So I'm all for doing right by the player. And I think in this particular situation where the Rams are rebuilding, it's a win-win situation.
It's a Madden franchise player right here.
You mentioned that you didn't feel the Rams were a top 5 team in the NFC. You look at the season, would you prefer the Rams win maybe a game in the playoffs and be done, or have a better draft pick and miss the playoffs this season?
I would prefer we went to the playoffs and won a game or two. I think it would be great for the fan base that we're trying to build. We don't have the greatest fan base. It's the butt of a lot of jokes right now. But it would be great to build this fan base up and show that, we can still win.
I like that. Well, you got to a Super Bowl once with Goff. You weren't able to beat, I think it was New England, Bill Belichick, the genius. And then you were able to get over the hump with Matt Stafford, but he was a more aging player. Looks like he's, kind of on his way out of his prime now. Do you think that was the right trade, the Goff Stafford, kind of swap there? Or would you prefer like, hey, we might have been able to win with Goff and we'd still have him, going forward right now?
I am not a Goff fan. So I'm so happy just watching him play in LA. It was terrible. He couldn't push the ball farther than 20 yards downfield, and he just wasn't right for McVay's system. So I'm so happy about that trade. And we won the Super Bowl and it all worked out. I think that was one of the few win-win trades we've seen in the NFL in a while.
Agreed.
Are you surprised at the success that he's, starting to have in Detroit?
I am. I am. I'm not a fan of Goff. I just don't think he's that great of a quarterback. But what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit really can't be understated. He's really built that system perfect for Jared Goff. It's a lot of short yardage, short area work. He's got a few deep threats that, when the defense gets lazy, he can push it. And you still see it now where he kind of misses those downfield throws wildly. And but I think that offense really is built for Jared Goff to succeed.
Yeah, I would be a big Lions fan. If like Dallas wasn't winning, I would root for the Lions. I love how he's built that team.
Yeah, Campbell makes you want to go to war for sure.
Absolutely. So, Tim, many Cowboys fans don't want to risk going all in because they don't want to be bad for a few seasons while the team rebuilds. Let me ask you, if you are bad 3 more years, are you still happy you went all in and won that Super Bowl with Stafford?
Absolutely. Like, you look at Detroit, you look at Minnesota. Some of these franchises have been around for a while and never even touched a Super Bowl. And it's really the hardest thing to do. It's amazing what New England was able to do, what Kansas City is doing, and being able to build a dynasty and repeatedly get to the Super Bowl, whether you win or not. And I think there's like a 5-year gap that you have to be okay with losing between winning Super Bowls.
I'm okay. We're on year 27 gap. So oof. I would go all in and be okay with a 10-year gap if they would go on and get that Super Bowl. Damn. Sorry, I'm going to get mad and go on a rant.
No.
Speaking of Super Bowl, are either of these teams Super Bowl contenders in your eyes? Be honest. You ain't got to be nice because it's a Dallas podcast.
No, I just don't see it for Dallas. Like, their offense has really been suspect this year. It's even the first, I think it was 3 games, they really got carried by that defense. And I think you saw it against San Francisco, where if they're not able to force turnovers, then they're really SOL. You know what I mean? Their offense isn't powerful enough to keep up.
Okay, well, it was a good interview with you. I'll see you later. No, I'm honestly, I'm right with you, man. I don't know if the defense is good enough to carry the offense if this is what the offense is going to be. You know, if the O-line is going to play like they are, they have to play better at offensive line. That is the key to this year. I'm getting off on a tangent, but the key to this year is offensive line. If the offensive line doesn't improve, they have no shot. They're not contenders.
Yeah.
You look.
I agree.
Sorry, my bad, Tim. You looking at this matchup, in your opinion, are the Rams the favorite or the underdog?
Oh, we're the underdog. And I've got the Rams probably about 2 or 3 teams below Dallas in my power rankings.
If it was at Los Angeles, would it change? Because Dallas has kind of become a pretty big juggernaut at home recently, like the last season and a half now. If it was at Rams, do you think that would change your mind a little bit, or would you still see as underdogs?
I would still see us as underdogs. I think you guys are just a more complete team than we are. We've got a lot of holes that can be exploited. So I think for you guys, it's really, are you able to score enough points? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the defense you're playing. But for us, we just got to get out of our own way. And like I said, I think we got a few more holes than you guys. So I've got you guys ranked ahead of us pretty much year long. I just don't really see us ever being the favorites against you guys.
With what you have on defense for this matchup, maybe not overall, but for your matchup right here, does the Cowboys offense scare you at all?
Man, scare. I don't know if it scares me. I think there's some things that you guys are gonna have to do to win, which is primarily, in my opinion, you guys are gonna have to run the ball a lot better. In the last 3 games, you guys are. Oh, this is rushing defense. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look up some stats on the fly right here.
It's bad. That's not good.
You guys' rushing defense is great.
Yeah.
Rushing offense. Here we go. In the last 3 games, yeah, you guys are pretty abysmal. 92 yards. Well, I wouldn't say abysmal. That's really bad. But you guys are in the bottom half of the league at like 92 yards a game over the last 3 games. The Rams really, I think they're giving up over 100. If you guys can eclipse 110 on the ground, I think you guys have a really good shot.
It's our efficiency that's bad. Like if you're getting 92, yards a game and it's taking you 28 carries, it's you can get 92 yards on 17 carries. Great. Let's go. 92 yards sounds wonderful, but that's not how we're playing so far this year.
Yeah.
You look at the Rams and their offense, man. How do they beat how do they beat the Dallas defense?
Got to take advantage of Trayvon Diggs not being there. You got to attack with Cup and Puka. You have to make the secondary work, and the linebackers especially. You got to make the linebackers cover well, and because I don't see us running the ball to beat you guys. Like I just don't see that happening. So it's going to have to be short yardage and intermediate area throws. That's if we can succeed on that, and if we can pass block well. For me, I think I talked about it earlier. I know we talked about it before the show. The biggest matchup in this game is going to be our offensive line versus your defensive line. If you guys get pressure on Matt Stafford, he's going to turn the ball over, which you guys are the best in the league at forcing. And it depends on how that matchup goes. If we can protect Stafford, he can get the ball out. We got a solid shot. And if we can't, then it's going to be a bad one.
Do you see this is the way I would look at it, right? If I'm thinking from a Rams, right? So our strength is the pass rush. You worry about Matt Stafford with interceptions. Wouldn't you rather them at least try to force the run early on? If you're not really scared of Dallas's offense just walking all over you, at least try to really hit the run hard to protect the offensive line and the quarterback from the turnovers so that maybe your defense can hold ours and kind of shorten the game. You don't think that would that's a way that they should go like that?
It depends on how efficient we can be running the ball. You know, if we're getting 2 to 3 yards a carry, then it's just not going to work out. And, you know, you don't want to put us in situations, 3rd and longs, where we're forced to throw the ball and the defense knows what's coming. You want Sean McVay to be able to open up that whole playbook and be able to use whatever tools, plays he has at his disposal. And he needs to be clicking on all cylinders.
I'm going to shamelessly plug. I got the article coming up, Cowboys Wire, and my first one of the keys to the game is Dallas has to stop the short passing game. So I said all that, but really I'm right with you. I think a key to the game is going to be, can the Rams kind of run the ball in a way with their short passing game, get to 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 4 while passing the ball, so that they get better opportunities for 3rd and short pickups.
Yeah, because if we can, just to talk, if we can get it, short dump off to Cooper Kupp and we're second and 5, right? Then that opens you up to outside run zones and things of that nature, sweeps, jet sweeps, however you want to do it, and it doesn't become so predictable.
Tim Riley read my article. Obviously, it's not out yet, but somehow he got an advanced copy of it.
Tim, I'm curious. You mentioned Puka and Cooper Kupp, of course. The type of players that they are in the season that Puka's having. But what are your thoughts on Tutu Atwell and what he brings to that offense and how he complements those guys?
Oh man, I'm just not a fan of short receivers. I think Sean McVay has used him in very creative ways to get him the ball. He is explosive. He's fast. He's agile. You've seen his role really dial back since Cooper Kupp's come back, and I think he's kind of reverted to a real gadgety role, whereas prior he was a pretty significant part of our offense. Right now, I just don't see much involvement. I think he's behind Tyler Higbee in the pecking order. So,
yeah, he's the guy I'm worried about, though. Like, that could go for a long ball on Sunday.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
He's always a deep threat. Yeah, you have to respect his speed. Sean McVay at least 6 times he's going to send him.
Yeah, he'll test you, man.
I don't know if he'll get the ball or if he'll get a target, but they're going to send Tutu deep at least, 5 to 6 times a game.
Makes me
just
so
making
sad.
Your defense think of that play and keeping them on your heels. That's an advantage there. All right, here we're at Mike's favorite question on the podcast. This is what I ask every guest. If you were starting a franchise of the two, who would you pick to be your quarterback and why? Dak Prescott or Matthew Stafford?
Hold on. Can I switch that question a little bit? Just because here's why. Stafford's at the end of he got a couple years left, maybe. Dak Prescott, even if you hate him, he's got 6, 7, 8 pretty good years left, right? How about we switch it to this? If you're the Jets GM right now and Aaron Rodgers goes, you know what, I can't come back. We can make a trade for one of these 2 quarterbacks. Okay. You want Stafford or you want Dak Prescott?
I think you want Stafford. I think the Jets have a really good O-line. I think as long as Stafford is healthy, which is the biggest question mark about him, if he's healthy and he's behind a good O-line, I don't think he's going to see, the interceptions that the boneheaded interceptions you see him make with the Rams sometimes. I think Stafford is the right move if you want to contend for a Super Bowl. Dak is still kind of iffy. He makes some head scratching plays sometimes. And I think the experience of Stafford and it would just work out a little bit better.
Is it okay if I switched it like that, Paul?
Of course, absolutely. I was going to say, I thought you might say if they were the same age.
Yeah, well, if it was right now and you were an expansion team, would you be like, well, I only got a couple years, but maybe I could take Stafford, or would you rather build with Dak? For right now, with their ages where they are now, what would you do?
Right now, I think you have to build with Dak. Stafford's got 2 years top. I think he's done after this year, honestly. I don't see him sticking around for a rebuild. The Rams would have to make some serious moves to be a real contender again. And I don't know if we're willing to give up all those draft picks again.
Yeah, I agree with both your answers. Honestly, just to be honest, I agree with both.
Yeah, I'm sticking with it's just the age of Dak, and he's not as bad as people make him seem.
No, he's a good player. My worry with Dak right now is if he doesn't have the mobility anymore. Like if it's something that he can only do once in a while, like he did it in this Chargers game, to like that's how he kind of dragged him to the win. This one, you know, he really showed something, and I was like, hey, that's great. But I don't if he can't run like that every game, and he's only 30 right now, that worries me going forward on like another deal with him, like signing him another 5 years. It worries me. I don't know if he's a good enough pocket passer if he loses his mobility. That really scares me.
Like he's good enough to like as a transition quarterback. That's kind of where he sits in talent level for me. Like he shouldn't be anybody's backup, and he's probably not leading a team to a Super Bowl. I just really feel like he doesn't have that ability to get there. Yeah, if he can get back to just rushing the ball a little bit, being able to pick up a few first downs here and there, and just make his legs a threat, then I think he's solid.
Absolutely. All right, Tim, who will win this game?
Oh, Dallas.
Mike?
Yeah, I get Dallas is a pretty damn good home team. I expect them to win.
That hurt to
We're
say
all
out
agreement
loud.
here, yeah.
I'm not, they'll tell you I'm not a homer. I picked Dallas to lose 3 times already. So I picked them to lose to the Giants week 1. I picked them to lose to San Francisco, and I picked them to lose to the Chargers. So, you know, okay. I'm no homer, but they're pretty damn good at home. They're a good home team.
Yeah, I agree. I have Dallas winning this game as well. Mike, who do you think is going to score the first touchdown?
I can't remember who I put. Hold on, let me get my notes here. Who was it? Oh, Pollard. Yeah, I think you know. Yeah, that's exactly what it was for me. I think he's due, and I think they need to find a couple of creative plays to get him the ball to get him loose. He's not hitting big plays like he has been last few years.
Sam, how about you?
I'm gonna go Cup. I'm gonna go Cooper Cup. He didn't get a touchdown last week. It was kind of the Puka show. I think they look to build that rapport back up and get Cup in the end zone.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, for me, I was having a hard time getting a read on this Rams defense. They're pretty good. We talked a little bit about a pre-roll, but one position they do have to see issues with is tight end. So I'll say Travis Ferguson will score the first touchdown. I feel like he's due as well.
Sir, that would be Jake. If Brendan hears you right now and you call
him Jake Ferguson.
Brendan, hey, I got Kelsey and our other co-host is going to lose his mind.
Jake Swifty. My bad, y'all.
I like that sleeper pick.
All right, who's going to have the most fantasy points this week, Tim? In this game, rather. Excuse me.
Oh, Cooper Kupp. It's just Stafford's favorite guy, and I just don't think the way he lines up in the slot, I don't think you guys' linebackers are going to be able to match up, and it's going to have to be the nickelback trailing him the entire game. Yeah, I'm going to roll Cooper Kupp.
Jordan Lewis is that. I don't like that matchup at all. That scares me.
Yeah. Mike, who you got?
Funny, I went with Pollard too. Maybe it was, both for a touchdown. They got to do something running the ball here. I mean, they got to get that going. And I'm not a run. Everybody knows, not a run. I want to throw on first down. But they got to get this line going, and they got to start running the ball. So I think Pollard might score 2 touchdowns, and he'll be the top guy.
Man, I wouldn't be mad about that. I'm going to take the cop-out answer. I think it's going to be Dak Prescott. I feel like he's going to build off that Chargers game, and I'm hoping that this offense, might have figured some things out. But I got Dak Prescott.
I've got Pollard as my number 2 highest scorer.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be.
I'd probably have Cup. So that's
All right, Tim, what's your score prediction?
Ooh, final prediction 27-20.
27-20 Dallas?
Yeah, 27-20 Dallas.
Mike, how about you?
I think it's going to be low scoring early. I think McVay is going to try to cut down on the possessions for both sides. I think a defensive score kind of, separates them, and then Dallas ends up winning 31-20.
31-20, okay. Yeah, for me, I had it 30-20 actually, Dallas, but that's a good thought as well, Mike. I could see McVay trying to keep the Dallas offense off the field.
He's smart. McVay is really great. Like there's levels to this. I'm actually a McCarthy fan. I think he's a good coach. I don't know if he's a play caller for this era, but I like the way he works around injuries. I like the way he watches his team and he game plans around who's hurt and what team he's playing. But there's levels. Like McCarthy's a good coach. McVay is a plus coach. McCarthy won't hurt you in a game often. Like he won't be the reason you lose. McVay helps you win. And that is a big difference. And I think he talent-wise, I think Dallas a lot better. And I think coaching-wise, they're a lot better. And that's why the game is going to be competitive.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like which is funny, Mike, you're the first Cowboys fan I've ever heard say that they don't hate Mike McCarthy.
There's only two of us. It's me and Jeff Kavanaugh.
We're the only entire United States.
Yes, we're the only two. He's not. If he gets fired, I'm totally okay with it. He's not a plus coach, but I lived through 10 years of Jason Garrett, and there is no way on God's green earth that Jason Garrett has the 3 seasons that McCarthy had with the injuries McCarthy had to go through. The first year with the COVID stuff, getting one game from the division, even though the division was crappy, you got a battle to be in there. And then 12 games and a road playoff win. With how his offensive line, Noah Brown was their number 2 wide receiver last year.
I remember that.
Oh my God. And people wonder why they're increased interceptions. He was pressing. Dak Prescott was pressing. He didn't trust his O-line, didn't trust his receivers. And he himself, I'm not giving him an excuse. It's his fault, but he let that affect his game. And that's what caused the interceptions. I think bringing Cooks in, and it's just that alone being able to go, okay, I trust this guy to get open. Even though they barely used him right now, I think it helps him calm down. And so I like Mike McCarthy. He's nothing great, but he's not Jason Garrett.
Can't be mad about that.
I'll take McVay. And in a second, you wouldn't even get it out of your mouth. And I would be like, yes,
right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I feel like McVay's a really underrated coach in the NFL. It's so weird. I just don't feel like he really gets the props that he deserves. To me, as an offensive play caller, it's Andy Reid and then McVay. There might be a few guys in that tier, but how many people are really better than him as a play caller?
He's probably as good as Andy Reid. He doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. That's a big difference. But if you look like Andy Reid with McNabb, who's a good quarterback, McVay was better with Goff than he was with McNabb. And with Stafford, he was better than he was with McNabb. Andy Reid is tier 1. He's elite. I'm not knocking him down. But when you match him with the Mahomes, it's unfair.
Right.
And you look at Shanahan, who's the one that everybody else says, like, McVay's better than Shanahan because he understands, like, when he played Dallas, run it for when they beat us a couple years ago in the playoffs, run it for 270 yards. And if we got to do stuff to keep our defense off the field, he'll do that. Well, Kyle Shanahan doesn't have that mentality. Kyle Shanahan's mentality is let's go. Like, he got the 28-3. They wouldn't run the ball. He wouldn't, McVay's not. You give McVay 28-3, it's game over.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's hard. I know Kyle Shanahan's a good coach, playing with them in the NFC West, seeing him twice a year, it's tough. But for me, I feel like his offense is a little simplified. Granted, his talent at quarterback hasn't been the greatest. I don't know how you feel about Brock Purdy. For me, I think they dumbed down the offense a little bit for a 7th-round draft pick. I don't think Purdy is bad. Don't get me wrong. You know, he's an elite level processor, but he really doesn't add much to the offense outside of that. Like in the, I don't want to go back too far, but I keep thinking about that NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And it was really give the ball to Debo and run the ball with George Kittle as an emergency outlet. Like that was your entire offense, the entire game. Screen to Debo, let him work in open space. And so it's hard for me to really say he's up there as a play caller. You know, I don't know if it's really just knowing your personnel and what they're capable of, but it seemed like a really simplified offense that just worked. It wasn't really stoppable by a lot of teams.
He doesn't protect his players either. Like, he knows McCaffrey's injury history, and he'll just give him 40 touches a game. He puts tight ends on your best pass rusher and gets them hurt. I mean, how many quarterbacks have been hurt in his? They all get hurt because he won't protect like that. He's like, look, we want to try to hit this big play. So good luck on Hassan Reddick. And then Hassan Reddick wrecks your game, you know?
Yeah. We are definitely off from the show sheet.
It's actually the end. And me and you were just kind of BSing on. Paul's like, it's late. I'm trying to get
I want to go to sleep now.
Like, I want to eat and go to bed, and I'm here on the West Coast going, yeah, sure, let's talk a little bit.
No, it's all good. I was looking at my Rangers. They're not doing too good right now. But Tim, I mentioned earlier some of your what you're doing offline or online, rather, in the fantasy and things like that. Can you talk to us a little bit about your content and where we can find that?
Yeah. I'm doing a weekly roster cloggers article over at the FF League Winners. A couple other things working over there. And then for Dynasty Football Factory, I am working the weekly start sit article. And I've also got a couple of other things brewing. I'm doing a deep dive into the 2024 wide receiver class and just kind of scouting them out a little bit. I do think this is one of the best wide receiver classes we've ever seen as a whole. Just the depth of it.
Hey Tim, can I hit you with a little sleeper? I'm a scout guy, so I hit you with a sleeper guy. I don't know if you know about him, but look for this guy named Marvin Harrison Jr. Pretty good.
I think I've heard the name once or twice.
Pretty good.
Oh yeah, my podcast. I run my own podcast, Fantasy Frontline. So check that out on YouTube. Like and subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. And that is about it. I think that's all I'm doing for right now.
Can you give us a little tease? Give us a sleeper running back, maybe not so many people are talking about, to look for in this 2024 draft class.
A sleeper running back? Audric Estime from Notre Dame. He's been really solid. He may or may not declare. I don't know if he wants to kind of separate himself from the class and come back for another year, but he's really been solid. And as far as in the fantasy world, dynasty world, I think after the combine, you could really see him rise up to early second, mid-second round pick.
Oh, nice. Okay, appreciate that. I'll have to make sure to remember that.
Yes, sir. I try not to scout running backs too much, but I know a few names. It's just hard. They're so up and down, just like in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, man. And thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge. Before we get you out of here, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at FF_Reez, REEZ.
Yes, sir. Mike, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
Letter C, letter D, Piglet, guys, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Tim, man. That was